So this is entitled The 12 Differences, I guess, between Gen X and Gen Z. Key differences you need to know about. Technology. The biggest difference between Generation Z and their parents is the prevalence of technology in everyday life. Children today grow up in a world dominated by the internet. I do agree with that. Social media and smartphones and all the shit that we didn't have as a teenager. Now, we had arcades. So if we wanted to play video games, we would either walk, hitchhike, or something to get to an arcade, and we'd take a roll of quarters and we'd play arcade games. Really low graphic arcade games. And then Super Mario came out in the Nintendo, but I think I actually had the Pong, which was the first game. And then I graduated to the Atari 2300, and then I went to a Nintendo 8-bit. My dad says, "Fuck it, I ain't buying you any more game systems as they come out." And I think the 16-bit Nintendo came out after that, and that was the last big game system I got until I became an adult, and I got an Xbox, and I was like, "That's fucking pretty cool." And then, you know, uh, had a guy that I used to know that got me into like Gears of War and Halo, and I lost interest in it because I had a lot of interest growing up. Before all that technology and everything, I mean, model trains was a big deal for me, so I was in model railroading, and I think I learned a lot of creativity in that particular model. Just building sceneries and stuff, but had a lot to do with me trying to get something done because your parents were busy at work. Uh, my parents were divorced, and either we had the little bit of technology, a Walkman. I think a Walkman cost like $350 back then, and most kids don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But MP3 player, you know how you could play music on your phone? Well, a Walkman was something you put a fucking tape in, and if you ever hear Generation X say something like flip flop, well, that's called taking it out. I'll see you on the flip flop. So different talking videos and audiobooks back then would have uh, a side B. So you'd pull out the tape, flip it, and put it in. And that's where the flip flop, or what did you call it, hon? I called it the flip flop. Flip side. Yeah. See you on the flip side. I think that's what it's called. I got that shit from my dad, the flip flop, and then he just wanted to be different because we all kind of want to have our own individuality. But be amazed at what I found out on these YouTube channels is how many people around the world act just like us in different ways. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's like you never would have met these people in your entire life. So I think technology has brought us together in a way that, it just wasn't even thought of back then. I have an AOL account. So if that tells you America Online, we got mail. We used to have this modem that it was a dial-up modem, 14.4. Really fast stuff there. Nothing like we have now. I mean, you don't even hear the tones and the dings and all that shit anymore like you did whenever we logged in. So yeah, I agree with technology being a big factor, and I think technology is just going to get better and better. And you know, the AI argument and stuff like that. Well, we'll just see what happens. I don't really worry about it. People trying to inject fear already. There was a story. The tractor, when it was first invented, farmers were like, I'm going to stick to my plows. I'm going to stick to my cows and my oxes and plow up the fields with those. But eventually, more and more people just started to get tractors because hell, you didn't have to feed the cows and they were easier to maintain. And they plowed up so much ground, and then we had a drought, and then in the 1920s, 1930s, somewhere around there. Don't quote me 100% on it, but there was a thing called the Dust Bowl, and basically the whole fucking panhandle of Texas got blown out of there. Now, I wasn't alive at the time, but sometimes technology can get a little bit out of hand. So, just learning from history, maybe we should watch technology a little bit and make sure it doesn't get out of hand. But probably what's going to happen is it will get out of hand, and then we'll have to put our hand on it and make sure that we keep it under control. Will we be able to do it? I don't know. We haven't reached that point yet. Will it destroy us all? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I'm not really scared about that. So, in essence, whenever people try to put fear on me on what AI can do and what it might do, uh, it hasn't affected me yet. If it starts getting up here in the head and it starts invading my personal space, which it might be right now, it could be definitely invading my personal space more than I want it to. But I am capable of putting my phone down and going out for 2 or 3 days and not having it with me. I call it living like you're growing up in the 80s. And a lot of people can't put their phone down for very long at all. And it's just tough. It's tough because it's such a powerful piece of technology. I remember being in math class and my teacher saying, you need to learn how to figure out this multiplication and work it out on paper because it's not like you're going to carry a calculator with you your entire life. And I would love to go back to that teacher now and say, hey, you were fucking wrong. And it just so happens that people in the X generation created that. Maybe it's because we were told we couldn't do something and we figured a way around it. I don't know. But it's an interesting theory. I like to make it sound like we're better than what we really are, but I don't think we're any different. We've adapted over time. We've gotten better with technology. Uh, I've met millennials and Gen Z that are really smart, and and in the X generation, I've met people that are really intelligent, and I've met people that are really fucking dumb. All right, and it doesn't really matter who you are. You still got to live on this planet, and I've learned to not take it so serious. I used to take it really serious. I used to really be concerned about my self-image, and then I went through so much shit in life. Eventually, you start paying attention to what really matters, and a lot of the shit doesn't. And there's people in my generation right now, the house, the car, and all that. That's everything to them. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a thought that people have. It doesn't mean that to me. I mean, I wanted the American dream too, because that was what was preached to us and told to us. Hey, get yourself a house and get yourself a nice car and get yourself two kids and a picket fence and a wife that you'd never argue with. And you watch these sitcoms that your parents watched, like My Three Sons and uh, these old black and white shows. You might have seen. I don't know if any millennial or anyone's actually seen them, unless you watched Me TV and you could see like the Andy Griffin Show and all that. But My Three Sons and Donna Reed, and I remember that when I watched those, they were sleeping in separate beds. And I asked my dad, I said, why are they sleeping in separate beds? Well, that's the way they do it, son. And then, so the fucking TV was lying to you at an early age. And they still do it. They lie to you all the time. So, and I forgot who it was, but it was way before the internet. Maybe it was my father who said something about, hey, you need to fucking question everything. But he always thought his way was right, but I could never question him, and he had a lot of flaws in him. And in turn, I developed a lot of flaws in me. And it was up to me to realize I needed to get that stuff out of my mind. So what I'm saying is eventually you might be blaming people on a daily basis right now, blaming this person because they made you feel this way or blaming this person because they made you feel that way. Eventually you're just going to have to stop blaming people and you're going to have to get up here in your head and figure out, hey, I'm fucked up. I might be able to blame, like, I'm fucked up because I'm taking this person's thoughts and opinions. But eventually you're going to have to figure that out and you're going to have to change that in your own head. I want to move on to the next question here. So technology was definitely different. Educational experience. Well, I don't really know. See, children's educational experience today is vastly different than their parents. While traditional subjects such as math, science, and reading still exist, teaching methods have drastically changed. Technology is often integrated in the curriculum, and students engage in more independent research and learning. So, I do, as a truck driver, I delivered to schools, and I was like, man, these fuck schools are getting like Chromebooks. We had one class that was computer class, and we had like, like 20 Tandies, and half of those, and they had this big floppy disk that you would put in to the drive. It was big, like it was about twice the size of your phone, and you would slip this disk in, and it only had like barely any storage on it, barely any storage at all. And we'd play games like, I think, Oregon Trail. If you see the original versions of Oregon Trail, or Jenny's Journey, I think was another one that we played. It was, and basically, I remember that now, and you look at it, and it's like that was the precursor to GPS and typing in coordinates and all that. So those were those were cool memories when you think of the technology that we have now. I remember I had an aunt that worked at a place called Lawrence Electronics, and she was making the first GPS. And I think it was in 1990. I don't remember when. I remember it was like 92 or 93 whenever she came out, and she had this big old block with her. And it was just a simple GPS that showed your point, your coordinates, and it showed a little like bread trail behind you. And we walked around out in Jinx. And I remember thinking, dude, that's pretty cool. And I think that GPS at the time was over $1,000. It was actually linking up with the satellites, and it didn't. There was hardly any cell phone towers around at the time. And that was the first piece of technology I seen that led to the modern GPS that everyone has. So we had to learn how to read maps. We had to learn how to find out what the name of the town we were going to and look it up in the index in the back and figure out where that was at. And then we had to follow on the map where we were at. And so technology has changed a lot from reading a map to just punching in the coordinates. It makes me wonder, because if anyone was to sabotage, you know, we got these doomsday people, that are like, hey, there's people in this country that are waiting for something like that. And me personally, I'm kind of in their boat, like I'm waiting for something like that. And maybe it's just a fantasy that we're living, like, hey, when all the technology goes, we're going to be the only ones that can survive. And quite honestly, I don't want that burden on me when I think about it. It's like, I don't want to be a fucking 45-year-old guy teaching fucking people that have never read a map how to read a map. But if that's something that was to happen, which I highly doubt, uh, yeah, that would make us better than what we really were. But I don't think that's going to happen. But it could. But it could. And that's for the people. When I debate with people, I try to see all the different sides to it, and I go home and I sleep like a baby at night because I really don't let it bother me, and I care about certain things and I don't. And right now I'm just talking life. This is unscripted. That's why there's a lot of ands, but I'm trying to take the us and does out. So I'm going to go back to the next one, which says political awareness. Children and teenagers today are more politically aware than their parents were at their age. Social media, 24/7 news cycles exposes them to real-time global issues and current events. This has led to more activism and youth-led movements on the climate change, gun control, and equality. So, you guys are having movements. Uh, I see them, and I'm. That's your thing. That's your thing. You're trying to make this country do something that we didn't do, and then you're going to have pushback from us and everything. But for the most part, As long as you're not in my personal territory and you're not trying to interject certain thoughts and beliefs up here, and we're not passing laws and stuff that are affecting my shit up here, and we're staying a free country, I don't really have much to say about that. Now I can tell you that politics from President Carter was, yeah, President Carter was the president when I was born. Then we had Reagan, and then we had Bush Senior, and then we had Bill Clinton, and then we had Bush Junior, and then we had, who the hell was the next guy? Bush, President Obama? No, am I missing one? I think I'm missing one. And then we had President Trump, and then we've got Joe Biden, and I don't know who's going to be the next president. I won't know until Election Day. And it doesn't matter because we've had both sides in there my entire life, and they haven't really affected me because I just live life. My freedom hasn't been affected in a negative way for me. Now, for other people and the different laws and stuff they pass, but I haven't really seen it affect me in a negative way, and that's because I don't really get into that. Uh, I'm taking care of my own habitat. Seems a little selfish, but if I take care of my own habitat and my community and stuff like that, that's the best I can fucking do as an American. No, that's not the best you could do. You could do better. That's all I want to do. All right? I've got other dreams and aspirations for me and my family and the people that are close to me than worrying about a bunch of shit that really hasn't affected me as much as most people would like to think it has. It's freedom. That's what we got it for. If it wasn't freedom, then I would be forced to do shit other people didn't want me to do. And I like freedom. I like to be able to do what I want to do. I like to be able to say what I want to say. I like to be able to speak what I want to speak. And for that, I'm pretty thankful for. Pretty damn thankful for it.
Experience luxury in every drive with the 2024 Buick Envision.
What the fuck is that?
Creates a serene interior, while ambient lighting enhances the perfect mood. Discover the exceptional with Buick. Buick.
What the fuck?
By design.
So, we just had something interject into my mind, and you could see how quickly I'm like, what the fuck? I don't like that. And I got it the fuck out of there. People will do that on a regular basis. Try to interject your thoughts and ideas and stuff in something that you may or may not believe in. And that's why I don't have a lot of people around me. I don't want a lot of people fucking. I mean, I think for me, the less people around me, the more I feel like I'm free. The more people I get around me, especially groups of people, and maybe they're wearing hats or they're wearing ribbons. I don't get involved in those groups. Now, I think that they have the right to do what they want, and I have the right to listen to their opinions and stuff like that. But if I don't want to engage with it, I shouldn't have to be forced to engage with it. There's a lot of issues going on that people have been fighting over for years, and I think it's just because people like to fight. But, either figure this shit out or, shut the fuck up is what I'm saying. And in my opinion, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't give a fuck about a lot of the things that are going on, especially right now. There's certain things, if someone was to come walking right into my house, they're going to meet some fucking resistance. But for the majority of shit that's going on, I just let them. that's something they can do. They can just fight about it. I choose to live in peace. I choose to sit back as an observer for most of my life, or I do now. So I stopped giving a fuck about the things that weren't really that important and started caring more about me. And maybe, whenever you think about the social experiments and maybe the depression and everything the new age is having, you know, when you're young, you care a lot. Then you just get beat down by this old life. And there's nothing wrong with wanting change. Maybe there's a small piece of me that would like to see everything work out fine. But as of right now, that shit ain't happening. So next, money management. Well, Gen Z supposedly has better money management skills. Uh, I've met people in all the generations that are currently alive, maybe except for, I guess, the new generation is Alpha, but uh, I think they can manage money better. Me being able to manage money, in order to get the freedom, sometimes you got to sacrifice. And I had the house, and I had the uh, not a brand new car. I've always had a used one. I'll never buy a brand new one because I think they're too fucking expensive. Back in the day, so back in the 80s, you used to look at a car commercial and they'll be like, come on down and grab the brand new Chevrolet pickup truck. It's $2,800 out the door. Could you imagine seeing a pickup truck? Nowadays, they say the MSRP is something something, but for the most part, they're saying you get $4,000 in rebates. When you get up to the dealership, the fucking truck's $65,000. They don't even tell you the price anymore because shit's so expensive. Have wages come up? Yeah, wages have come up, but I don't think they've come up enough to buy a 60,000. They're financing these fuckers for 6, 7 years now. People are paying $600, $700 a month payments, and I'm never going to do that. Now, if you wanted the prices to come down, if everybody thought like me, which they're not, because everybody got to have the newest and latest thing, uh, but if everybody thought like me, the price would come down. That's supply and demand. But not everybody thinks like me. Hey, the banks give us some credit. We can go up to the bank. They'll give us a loan, and then we'll be a slave to that bank for 7 years for a car. And I don't think anybody can really come up with the money nowadays to pay for a house, fucking cash out of pocket. So I did some sacrifices in order for me to live the American dream. I got rid of the damn house because that dream's not there. I tried to get rid of every payment that I had. I got rid of the financial institutions, grubby hands in your back pocket, but I was at the point to where I can go over here to this financial institution and they're going to help me out. I'm going to be able to live the American dream, not realizing that when I signed that loan paperwork that I was signing 30 years of labor away. And a lot of people don't realize that. But a lot of people still want the American dream because that's the American dream. The American dream is what you make it. And for me, it was selling everything and moving into a trailer, and I love it. You keep your expenses as low as you possibly can. Imagine going out and working 60 to 70 hours a week and coming home and being able to pay your rent, electric, and everything. And as a truck driver, you can still do this as long as you don't live way above your means. But I like to think of the rule as one paycheck should cover all of your home expenses. But most of the time, even whenever I was able to do that, there's a lot of people that it took 2.5 checks to make their living expenses. And now I can make the same amount of money that I did in a week, and I've got enough money for my living expenses the last 6 months. So it's all a matter on, you can go out and get all the money in the world you want, but you know how many taxes you pay when you make poverty wages? Hardly any at all. And it's not the idea that I don't feel like working, because I volunteer a lot of time out doing stuff for free. But money isn't the most fucking important thing to me. It used to be. It used to be. And you start paying these taxes, and you realize you're paying $30,000 a year in taxes. Well, I try not to live off the government handouts. I don't use food stamps, and I've been on them before. When I got laid off from a trucking job, and I went back and got my education. So there's a lot of things that I've done to put me in the position where I'm at. But some people say there's no way I would live like that, and hey, I understand. If you want that nice house, and I let my kids grow up, I only got one, but when they got old enough, I really simplified down. And I tell you what, a lot less stressful. A lot less stressful. And I started my own business, and I enjoy it. Why don't you hire anybody? Why don't you create jobs? I don't want to. It's not my responsibility. It's my responsibility to take care of me. And it's my opportunity, it's my responsibility to take care of those close to me. There's other people out there with dreams and aspirations of becoming a tax collection agency for the government, and that's not me. Imagine if you. That's just not me. I used to want to start a big corporation. I mean, there's just so much shit involved in that, and so many people that you got to worry about. And you can actually go out and make a pretty decent living as long as you. I think that it's probably 60 to $70,000 a year is all you really need to make to live extremely comfortable. Now, if you want to go out and make $500,000 a year, uh, have at it. My goal is to do that, but I'm going to do it with as least stress as possible. So, if I do ever qualify for Social Security, but with everything that's happened, probably not. I probably not going to make it to Social Security age, whatever the hell they got it up to for me now. And I don't care. The government's not responsible for my fucking happiness. I'm responsible for it. My friends and family aren't responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for it. Let's see what we got here on the next. I think those are the main things that are covered. Growing pains, Gen Z. So I don't know if that helps you out any. Just a look into a Gen X life. I thought there was some more stuff on here, but maybe it was this page right here. Money management, work-life balance. Yeah, Generation Z work-life balance is more than their parents at the same age. They prioritize their mental health and personal life over their jobs. It's in contrast, their parents may have sacrificed more. If this damn thing would stop jumping around on me here. Parents may have sacrificed more to climb the corporate ladder. Well, I think I've already covered that. I never really wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I climbed in like safety committees and stuff like that, and was able to improve accident records at certain large trucking companies. But it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and I couldn't get along with certain people. And that's one of the things that you might want to work on is your people skills. But I haven't. If you look at some of the shit I posted, uh, A lot of people don't like the shit that I post. A lot of people don't like. Uh, a lot of people get so upset. Like, and if you mess up just a little bit, they're gonna let you know. There was a video I did. I think it was an Amazon truck, and I I actually labeled it as black ice, but I put it on there as dry ice. And man, I got so many damn comments saying, "What do you mean dry ice? What do you mean dry ice?" And I was like, "That's I messed up. I messed up when I put that video out there, and I probably messed up a lot in this one." But thing is, people are always going to be pointing out your flaws, and some of them will absolutely pound you into the ground for it, cuss you out, and everything else. And I just look at it as though it's a social experiment. So I said, well, I messed up there, and I got a lot of comments. So why not I look at a Labrador and call it a Chinese pug and see what happens? And that video hadn't really taken off too much because I think people probably realize that maybe someone's not that stupid, but I'm waiting. They'll come eventually. That video hasn't really taken off like the other one. So I decided to start this YouTube channel, and it's going to be a completely different video. Let me just move into a different subject. I'm drifting way the fuck off subject here. Social life. Generation Z spends more time socializing online than their parents at the same age. Social media platforms have become the crucial part of social life, and they are more likely to communicate through social media, text, instant messages, and DMS. Well, I don't like to communicate at all, so I'll communicate through all those options. But if I'm not trying to get a hold of me, for some people, it's really tough. Like I look at it and I was like, oh, look at there. That's my friend calling. I don't want to fucking talk to him right now. That's the way I am. And people, and then you know, and for most Gen Xers, it's like, oh, all right, I was just checking to see what you're doing. But I have seen it in, well, I guess both generations. Some people are like, every time I try calling, you never will call. You won't text me back. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you try to text me and you bitch at me whenever I come tell you, I'm probably gonna rip your head off. And I think that's just a Gen X thing. It could be a narcissistic trauma abuse or something like that I suffered, and I developed a little bit of narcissism, so I'm always trying to control that in some way or another. But I do know I've been pretty fucking vicious whenever my words come out. So maybe I do need to, work on it a little more. Just the culture of the atmosphere and everything that I grew up on. Uh, Cussing was part of life. I started cussing like I think I was allowed to cuss around my dad when I was 3 or 4 years old. So he's like, and his rule was you could cuss as much as you want as long as you don't cuss toward your family or your mom or anything like that. But my dad, however, because they were divorced, could cuss about my mom all the time, and my mom could cuss about my dad all the time. And I can't really get into. I can get into that, but that was the mental health issues that I didn't have, Ritalin and fucking patches and all the shit they got now. I took me 45 years to get over all that, and that abuse fed into me, which I had to fix, but it was too late for me to fix it for raising my daughter. You know what I mean? So she got a little fucked up, but I think she's getting better. I think she's getting better. But you never know how life's gonna treat you. That's her story to tell, not mine. My story is, well, this is Gen X, but this is just one Gen X. There's a lot of Gen X stories out there, and I have a feeling they're coming. And I see some of this stuff that people were talking about, like Gen X. Where's Gen X? Gen X was the forgotten generation, and if that's the case, thank God I was forgotten for a long time, because sure as hell didn't need to be out here Well, I was out here. I was like pretty crazy about 15 years ago or so. Right when you're in your craziness, and your kids are about 8 or 9 years old. So I can kind of understand why a lot of millennials might be fucked up too. Millennials are zennials, I guess, is what they are. See, this isn't the typical Gen X video where you're gonna see people, I did drink from the garden hose. I think fucking everybody did. Tasted like rubber, and I still drink from the garden hose. If I'm thirsty, I'm gonna drink. It doesn't really matter. Uh, Builds you up inside, all those minerals and shit. However, watch the garden hose you drink from. Don't drink from a garden hose you siphon gas from. There's a tip. There's a tip. Don't ask me how I know that. Just, but yeah, hell, siphoning gas, that might be something that Zennials would go up and buy a pump or something for. But we used to suck it right out of a garden hose and then hurry up and get it in the gas tank real quick. Let's see what else we got. Uh, I got to get over here. Mental health. Generation Z is more vocal about their mental health struggles and their parents than their parents were at an age. They see mental health as a crucial aspect in well-being and are more likely to seek help if they need it. This right here is something that you guys are ahead of us on. Like I was just talking about. I had to learn all this shit and I finally figured it out at 45. If you could figure it out by the time you're in your 20s, if you're really screwed up in the head and educate yourself, the education that you guys have nowadays with the Chromebooks and all that, it was all encyclopedias and stuff for me at first, where we had this big old encyclopedia. It wasn't a Britannica, it was older than that. But basically, it was a volume of like 30 books, and that was our computer. You just go up there and you'd go through it. We also had a thing called card catalogs at the library where you'd have to use the cards, and then you would take the card out and look at the location. Then you would go find the book, put the card in, and then go check it out at the library, and they would stamp it with a rubber stamp. I don't know how the hell all that stayed together, but it worked. It worked for us at the time until computers came in. Nowadays, you can just download anything and read it on a Kindle or a PDF, and you don't have to worry about looking for it or ordering it. Everything's at the palm of your hands. If you want a Bible, it's right at the touch of your hands on a phone. Uh, Anything you want is at the touch of your hands. That's pretty cool. So I'm excited about that type of technology. But the mental health issue is definitely something I hope the generation after us has gotten a lot better at dealing with, because sometimes the people that you surround yourself with aren't the people you want giving you mental advice. And at a certain age, you just got to get away from it. Environmental consciousness. Environmental issues are a significant concern for Generation Z. They prioritize sustainability and often look for eco-friendly products and services. Climate change and pollutions are issues as they affect their lives and their future generations. Well, climate change has been shit they've been talking about for a long time. I do believe that the Earth has been warming since the end of the last ice age, and it's going to continue warming until we reach an equinox where it starts to cool off again. Uh, Science has proven that this has happened several times, so I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm just going to go with the basic knowledge, and I don't want to debate it. I mean, any comments or anything that's down trying to debate it, this is my thought on it. I don't give a fuck about climate change, all right? I've said it before, I care about me and my own little habitat. Now, if it starts smelling like shit outside, I'm probably going to go out and try to fix my climate. You know, the septic tank probably blew up or something. But as far as, and if it's really dusty outside, I can't really do much for that. It's dusty. Fucking dust blowing around everywhere. If I got radioactive material blowing up my nose, I can't do anything about that. I'm probably going to die from it. So if that's going to happen, I don't give a fuck about it at the time. I'm not going to let it worry me. So my thoughts on climate change are pretty vague. My next subject that I go to here, if I decided to care about it, then I'll do it. The COVID-19 pandemic significantly impacted Generation Z. It has forced them to redefine social interactions, education, and work-life balance. They have adapted to remote learning and working and have found new ways to connect with their peers. Well, I'm getting back here to it so I can see myself. COVID-19 was probably one of the most exciting fucking times of my life. Now, it might have scared the shit out of some people, but for me, I was like, boy, the world's coming to an end, and me and my buddy took off into the woods, and we drank fucking beer and got drunk as fuck for 3 days. And then we realized the zombie apocalypse wasn't really coming after all. No matter what the government got up there to do, no matter how many ships they sent around, and I know that there was a lot of people that died, and I know there's a lot of concern and caring and crying and shit that happened, but it was an exciting moment. I thought the world's coming to an end, and I get to witness it for just a little bit. And I lost some people that, you know, they said it was COVID that killed them. So it did affect. It affected me, but the way I process fear is a little bit different than some. And that's just that's me. That's me being me. You die at any moment. Live life to the fullest and don't let other people's worries bother you. Was there worry going on during that time? Oh, hell yeah, there was a bunch of it. But you can't care about something that you can't control, and something that something's got. Well, we could have controlled it, maybe. There's a good argument for that, but we didn't. Maybe it was a big social experiment. I don't know. But if it was a social experiment and it was meant to scare people, somebody's got their shit together and they know what they're doing. But for someone like me, it didn't affect me in the way that it affected other people. I'm not going to say that it didn't affect me, because I probably wouldn't have disappeared in the wood for 3 days and drinking a bunch of fucking beer, getting drunk with a friend. See what I'm saying? But that's how I coped. I think alcohol sales like doubled during that time there for a while too. So I wasn't the only one. But some people were just scared shitless. And I don't know how it felt to be inside a hospital, dying without your family next to you. I don't know. Wasn't there. That wasn't my story. That was somebody else's. Anyway, I'm going to get off here, everybody. This is some deeper perspectives from the Gen X. And I don't know if it helped you out, but I'm glad you were here till the end and listening. If you want to know, I'll put a video up here or over here or down here. I don't know where the hell it's going to go. But it'll be picking weeds and planting seeds. For all my trucker friends out there, keep on trucking. And for everybody that stayed to the end, I appreciate it. If this is something you also enjoyed, every other YouTube channel will tell you to do it, and they'll tell you exactly what to do. But I'm pretty sure you've heard it about 415,000 times or better. But I'd like to see you again sometime, and I'll see you later.